Hi, everybody, and welcome today to today's broadcast of the Power of Analytics, Acrolinx 5.2. My name is Deb Simons. I'm a Senior Director of Marketing. And it's my pleasure to have today's presenters, Dr. Philipp Offermann and Dr. Adam Taylor. But before we jump in, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. One is that today's session will be recorded. I know I've had a number of inquiries on that. So you will be receiving an email from me tomorrow with the link to the recording. And also, we love questions. So as we go through the broadcast, if you have any questions, please feel free to pop those into the question panel. So it's my pleasure to now turn it over to Philipp. So Philipp, take it away.
Thank you, Deb. So, welcome to the analytics webinar. We're very excited to having these new analytics in our server, starting from the 5.2 server release. And this is really about showing you a bit around, showing you what you can do, what it's all about. But before we start, I'm just heading up with just 2 slides here to as an introduction to the topic. So what is analytics about? For us, what we wanted to achieve is, in the end, when you use Acrolinx, you're improving content and you want to achieve some objective with your content. Either it's about having a higher customer satisfaction or generating a number of leads, increasing click-through rates. But that's probably something you want to achieve with your content. And then the question is, does Acrolinx help you achieve that? And that's where analytics and business intelligence can help, because we can measure things and display how actually the content is developing and how you're achieving your goals with the content. We can measure in what your scores are. You can drill down and slice and dice as you need it to look at the numbers, and you can start understanding the relationships, what's working, what isn't working, and really improve how you're working on the content. So what does that mean? The Acrolinx analytics, the analytics we can offer, is based on the numbers we have in our system. So that's the Acrolinx scores. It's also the category scores like spelling, grammar, terminology, clarity, conversational tone. We have issue counts. We have numbers on how often you checked a document, when you checked the document, how many words, how many sentences were there, and that's the number we can work on for our analytics. Of course, you might also have data about how successful the content is, the KPIs of the content. But this data is stored in a different system. It might be a web analytics system, which has information about page views, about time on page. You might have data on the customer satisfaction. And then it might also be interesting to bring that together and to look at the relation between the success of your content, the KPIs, and what Acrolinx is measuring, and then that seeing that relation helps you then understand and improve the guidance, so that you know beforehand, before you publish the content, how good it's going to be and what the potential is. Okay. So that's from the introduction. With that, I want to hand over to Adam to introduce his part. Adam.
Yeah, hi everybody. So Philip, one thing that I'm most interested here, and obviously this is really exciting stuff for us. You mentioned the slicing and dicing. Now that I think that's a really important part to talk about, especially at a content level. So if I'm leading a content team or multiple teams, I'm going to have different product lines, I'm going to have different divisions, I might have different projects, and I want to be able to keep track of each of those. I don't want my data just to be a lump of everybody that's using Acrolinx. I want to be able to get specific and know where I'm doing well, where I'm doing bad, how I can fix things. And then I believe we've set up a way to look at that. Can you show that to us?
Sure. So with the Acrolinx 5.2, we introduced a new functionality called content groups. And that's really helpful for defining the content group, basically the sum of documents that you want to look at together. And content groups is pretty flexible. You can just and define them here in analytics administration content groups. And for example, if I have a certain repository, like for example my blog repository, I can create um, a content group on that, and I have different criteria to choose from to define how that content is identified, and it's very flexible. And that then in the analytics dashboards allow me to actually track the development of that specific content group and the content in that group, how that's developing over time. So I guess that's what you need to use here.
Yeah, that's perfect, and it looks like we can set that up just about any way we want to, depending on how we're set up. So let's go up to the actual dashboard so we can see what kind of data we're getting a hold of for these different groups.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at the business value dashboard,
mm-hmm.
this is what's going to give us a lot of information about these individual groups, where we'll be able to track them, right?
Exactly. Just as a quick overview, you have the overview page for all the out-of-the-box dashboards, and we have the business value dashboard here, for example, which you have just been mentioning, and I've opened it here for you.
Mm-hmm. So we've got a few different pieces of information here. We can see at the top how we have an overall average of all of our content with Acrolinx and how many checks have been run. But then in this first graph, we're able to again actually break it down and see where every group is standing. So we can see our different marketing and product FAQs index, and we can see which one of those are highest, which one of them are lowest. So you see everybody is kind of steady with their content in this sample data, not really moving up and down. But if we look on the graph on the right, this is going to actually show us that the content is improving over time. So this is actually tracking the amount of Acrolinx score improvement that we're seeing for each of these different groups. But if I want to get specific, I know that in this data we recently, sometime middle of last year, we onboarded the marketing department. So I want to drill in. I want to just look at the marketing department's data, get rid of the rest of these groups. So can I do that, Philip?
Yeah, we're on the right-hand side here. You see that we have all the on-screen filters available, and I can also filter by content group. And by clicking on that, it's all updated in real time, and all my graphs and tables are updated according to that filter.
I see. Yeah. So what I'm seeing here now is that even if I'm looking at the average score, we see that they're very steady here, but they're not improving, they're not going down. But looking at the other graphs, like the total content improvement, I find that this group is all over the place. They're doing lots of improvement, not much, lots, and it's really jumping up and down. The category scores seem to have some fluctuation here at the end as well. So if I were to see this as let's say a high-level director, I might want to ask my marketing manager, why am I seeing this kind of up and down, willy-nilly kind of improvement with the content? Would I be able to analyze that?
Yeah, sure. So let's say I am the marketing director here. I have, for example, the content quality dashboard available, which helps me as the responsible for that group to really track what's going on in my group with my content. And you see that dashboard opened here. And again, I can just go in and filter it for my specific group. And then I can see, okay, the Acrolinx score of my content has not moved much. That's not good, because I know that I'd agreed internally that we want to hit at least a 70, and I see that actually also as the benchmark value being defined here. And now if I want to go and see really what's going on, I have the possibility to see how many documents I have, and also how they score compared to the benchmark value, and how many are on or above the benchmark value, up to 20% below, or more than 20% below. And by clicking on that, I can even see which of the documents is much below the benchmark value, so that I can directly go in and say, okay, that's the document, what documents my team needs to look at. That's what I should focus on to really get the average Acrolinx score up. I also can see down here very quickly what's the current high scoring and low scoring documents, that I have a quick overview of the best of the top and the bottom of the list. And very interesting also, I have an age of content graph. And that we have the target to always keep the content fresh and to look at content at least on a regular basis so that it doesn't get out of date. Because usually if content just published and then is untouched, often it just gets stale and needs to be updated or retired. And so I get a graph here on the average age of the content, how many days ago on average the last check was. And in the ideal case here, I want to have an horizontal line, right? So this is going up a bit. I see it's going down a little bit beginning of 2017, but then up. So that's also not great. So I know that it's probably not really working that well. I'm definitely not hitting my 70. So and that allows and so perhaps I just also want to know what's going on. Why isn't the content being checked? And I have a second dashboard available here. It's the checking activity dashboard. And if I open that again, I can filter that for my marketing content. I can see how many checks have been done, how many documents have been checked, and also how many users have been active. And I see there's somehow it doesn't consistently go up. It goes down here, and that looks rather strange. And also I see that the number of active users went down here. So probably I should look into user adoption. And I can also see in a drill down table what's the number of checks per user. And I see that my top users here for my marketing content group, that's Chuck, Steve, and Mitchell. So I might want to approach these three to set up a user group and get adoption up of the system. So that really helps me understand what's going on and how I could react to it to really make it successful and achieve the goals I'm having with the content.
Yeah, I see how that that can definitely be useful to be able to find out what's going on with the different groups, where the quality is, and how much we're improving. But there's other things that I'd be interested in. And actually, Philip, if you can switch the presenter rights over to me, there's some of that data that I'd like to show. Because again, if we think about being at a high level management position, we may know that it's all well and good that our content is improving and we're getting these increases in Acrolinx scores. But I might also want to know, what does that mean to my bottom line? Is that I know that it's improving my content, but is it saving me money? Am I seeing tangible benefits like that? And we actually have graphs that are built in to these dashboards that can show us this. Now they require some configuration because how you calculate this may be different. But if we drill into this, we'll be able to see three different kind of out-of-the-box categories here, which would be what we've saved on mechanical editorial, what we've saved on terminology, and what we've saved on translation. And since this is a different system, I don't have the same filtering as Philip by the departments. I have filtering mostly by my writing guides, which is just it's kind of an example of how things can be set up differently depending on how you're using Acrolinx and how you set it up. But if we look at the overall here, I want to explain what these mean. So I see some increases here. We can hover over here and see the actual dollar amount, like 7,000 for terminology, 49,000 for mechanical editorial. And what this is doing is it's calculating how long it takes a writer or editor on average to find grammatical errors and find style violations and fix them. For the mechanical editorial, terminology is similar in finding your brand names, your product names, your preferred and deprecated terminology. It's saying, how long does this take as just a writer, And how long does it take as a writer using Acrolinx, finding those for us, helping them to fix that? And then it's going to take, let's say we're saving, I'm just making up numbers, we're saving 15% of time, 20% of our time, something like that. It's going to then be able to calculate that according to what we're paying, how much we're actually saving in these different areas. And again, this is all of my content. I could filter this down by different writing guides and see how each of those is faring, or go back to the full data. So that's a good way to get a look at how we're saving there, but also translation, which my sample company here does not do very much translation. You can see they saved $313 on translation. Because they don't do translation. But what this is looking at is all of the guidelines that Acrolinx has to help you simplify your content, make it more concise, decrease the word count, increase the consistency, because when we're translating, every word is being charged to translate. So if we decrease those words, we use the same words more consistently, we're going to have fewer words to translate. And if we're translating in 5, 10, 20, 30 different languages, that can really add up. So if you're using Acrolinx and you're doing a lot of translation, you can see those cost savings in this as well. And actually, one final thing that I want to show you all is kind of a different side of the analytics. We looked at how our quality was doing. We looked at the checking activity, how much people are using. We looked at our potential cost savings. But we can also get information that can maybe help us out with the groups that aren't doing too well. We saw some of the quality lines were lower than others. We can actually look into our guidance overview here as well. I'll bring this up. And what this is showing is some of you may find these familiar from previous versions of Acrolinx, but what it's showing all in once here is what are our biggest hitters? What are our problems? So other is a big category here. It looks like we have a major issue with adding in extra spaces. We can see we're not very good at capitalizing correctly. We have lots of punctuation errors. So this is breaking down what guidelines are showing up most often, be it first grammar, style, terminology, even showing us which errors or violations show up the most per which category. And this can really give us good information. Like say if we go back into our marketing group where we knew that they were having fairly low scores, we can actually see that this is in German. Oh, live demos are very, very fun, everybody. So, well, at least this one's in English. We can see we had lots and lots of very long sentences compared to the rest of our errors. So this may be something we want to look into for the marketing group. Maybe we need to set that length a little bit higher. Maybe we need to just make sure that they're working on this. But it gives us a good idea. If we go back to the full breakdown, it can give us a good idea of what we want our writers to be focusing on to make this content better according to the style guides that we have in place. So Philip, we also have a couple other dashboards. I lost my word there. They're mostly looking at the archive of our scorecards and who's using which integration. This can be useful if you need to find out if people are on the most current levels of the different plugins, various things like that. Yeah. But this is the overall. Any more for you to add, Philip?
Yeah, I think that's already great. The scorecard archive. Most of you probably know from before. We made it an analytics dashboard now, which is basically providing the same functionality as before, but making it much more flexible concerning filtering. So it's if you're looking for a certain scorecard or for a certain set of scorecards, you now have the full flexibility of this real-time filtering available for the scorecard archive as well. So that might be really helpful in the cases where you just need to look for a certain scorecard, but you don't know exactly where it is.
Yeah, excellent. Yes, thank you, Philip. So we've got a little bit of time left. Deb, do we have any questions in our queue?
We sure do. All righty. So the first one that came in is the content group field value set when a scan is started?
I'm not quite sure what the scan means here. the content groups, and they are only getting applied once you define them. So basically, you define the content group, and from then on, every check that we're seeing gets classified with that content group. So it's not working retroactively. And also the idea is you set up the content groups the way you need them, depending on how you slice and dice your data. Is it by department? Is it by project? Is it by repository? You set that up, and then in the best case, you would do a batch check, for example, using the content analyzer of a lot or all of the content in that content group, because then you can set that batch check to become the benchmark value, and the average Acrolinx score for that batch check is then set as the benchmark value. And then you can track that as you have seen on the content quality dashboard, how the content is doing compared to the benchmark value. So I hope that answers the question.
All right, thanks, Philip. Second question, is there a way to get a report of topics checked instead of documents?
I guess that's referring to DITA checks. Right now the checks are on a level of documents that we check. So that's individual files. So if each topic is in a file, then we have that in the database. But of course, then you have a problem getting the whole set analyzed. And we are working on improving support for DITA checking to take into account that it's split into several files. That might be upcoming in one of the next releases, especially for the next release, the 5.3 release. We plan to improve the analytics feature, and we are trying to get as much in as possible as we can concerning feature improvements.
Okay, next question is, can you slice and dice by the authoring environment? So for example, to see analytics for content created in one specific authoring tool.
Right now you can't do that. However, there's also the question of why that would be interesting, because we'd assume that you want to know what how a content on a certain topic is doing, and that theoretically should not depend on the tool that was used to check the content, but it should depend on the checking profile used, for example, or the content group it falls into, on some user or document information, but not on the way the content was checked. So there might be some cases where it's the easiest to do it that way. But from our perspective, the idea is to do it based on what's the content for, rather than which tool was used to check the content.
Okay, let's see. Next question. Can the reports be saved as a PDF and or emailed automatically from the dashboard?
The answer is yes. We can. The dashboards are optimized for on-screen viewing with all the filtering, but for every table and for every graph, you can export that, and you can do it individually. For example, here I have. Sorry, I need to share my screen again. Adam, can you make me presenter again? I can just quickly show that.
Yes, of course.
So hang on. So I hope you can see my screen again. So we have here the content quality dashboard open, and for example, for the age of content, I can click here. I have the export. I can export it as PDF, as HTML, as Excel, and I have the same available for tables as well. So if I need any of that for processing in Excel, I can do that as well. So the answer is yes, you can export the individual parts as PDF, for example. Of course, then you lose the real-time functionality, so we rather for reporting. The second part was emailing that, that's impossible. It's a bit more tricky to do that. In under administration, you have the as the analytics administrator, you have custom dashboards available. And if I click here, I'm going into the underlying BI platform, and that platform has the ability to schedule reports. So just have a look at it. Our standard reports we're using, they're listed here, and it's getting really technical now. But if you know where the web report that you're looking for is, you can find it and you can right click and you can schedule that. All right, and with the scheduling, if I do that, I get into a menu where I can set conditions to run the task like every week, for example, on Sunday, and I can set it to publish as email, and I can tell it to publish this as a PDF and as Excel by email and send it out every Sunday. So that's possible through that. You'll probably need some help from us to get this up and running. You need to know how to use it, but it's possible to do it.
Great. Thanks, Philip, for that detailed explanation. Yeah, a few more questions. Let's see. The next one is it possible to create an analytics dashboard for individual content authors? So, for example, for an author to see maybe what their issues are and where they need to improve.
Um, if you're recording author information, which is the default setting, we have the author information available in the reporting database. And so you would be able to filter by author. It's not part of the out-of-the-box dashboard and depends probably on a company policy if you're allowed to do such filtering. But you have the capability on the custom reports, which I just showed you, to create your own analysis on the data, and there you can also filter by user and create these views. Of course, you can always switch on anonymous checking for the server, and then we don't record any user-specific information, neither in the scorecards nor in the reporting database, and then such reports are not possible.
Great. Okay, next question. Some context-specific terminology issues are flagged by style rules. Can those be included in the terminology issues metric?
In the terminology issues metric, is that the terminology score? I don't think the question is relating the analytics, but rather the scoring, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a bit difficult to tell.
Okay, maybe we can find out more detail on that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, alrighty. Next one. If I have used the Acrolinx server 5.1, will my data be directly available in this new dashboard?
Answer is yes. If you install the 5.2 or any higher version and you connect it to your old database, we automatically migrate the data to our new format. Of course, this will not have information on content groups because they didn't exist before. And also, you now have the option to configure departments. That's also not been there before. So this data won't be there yet, but everything that is already present in a 5.1 system is directly available once you upgrade to 5.2.
Great. And this next question's in reference to data map. Just wondering if it's possible to check a full data map document in data. Can you filter the information of all checks of the topics in a data map so that you have an overall view of the quality of the full document?
Mm-hmm. Again, right now, no, we don't have any specific data map filtering, but it's a part of our roadmap for the data map checking. The problem is not only on the reporting side, but also on the checking side, because the data map, it's basically several files, and we are checking on a file basis, but we need an analysis on the whole files together. Which is not that straightforward. But basically, as the question already highlights, there are options to get this done by just linking all these different checks together and creating an aggregated report using analytics. And that's also what we're considering doing here. But it's not only a question for analytics, but also for the integrations to attack all the checks as belonging together. So it's no quick fix for us. We're working on it, but we're not there yet.
Okay. Looks like this may be the last question. So if there are any more, please feel free to put those in the question panel. Are there any dashboards which show the content reuse scores?
No, we don't have dashboards on reuse. Because reuse for us is not one of the prime features which bring the highest value here, and where we put a lot of effort in. So we did not include the reuse in the dashboards.
Okay. Well, it looks as though those are all the questions that came through the question panel. And if anybody has any follow-up questions, please feel free to send those over to us. Philipp and Adam, I want to thank you very much for your time today, as well as everyone who had the opportunity to attend. And again, the session has been recorded. Check your email tomorrow, and you should receive the link to the recording. And feel free to share that with your colleagues who may not have been able to attend today. So on behalf of Acrolinx, I want to thank you, and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.